Okay, happy Financial Fitness Friday. We'll start off quickly with a disclaimer. As most of you know, none of this is meant as specific recommendations or advice. These are meant to be educational, and hopefully you find these helpful. Off a poll. This should just take a minute.
Hey,
Okay,
Alan,
yeah.
is the max contribution for BISAT 10%? I always thought it was 7%.
No, 10%. You need to match. You need to contribute 10% to get the max match of 5% from Viasat.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the first one, you contribute at least enough to your 401k to get the max employer matching contribution. Like I said, for Viasat, that's 10%, or you need to average that across our fiscal year. Actually, is how that needs to happen, and you'll get the max match of 5%. But it looks like half, basically 7 out of 13 do, 2 out of 13 do not. That needs to change. That's free money you're throwing away. And then actually 3 out of 13 do max out annually, which is great. And then 1 doesn't contribute. That might be, hopefully that's just because they don't have one, or they're not working at it. But let's see, number 2, if you don't max my grammar was 4, your 401k contributions, have you set up auto increase? 4 out of 13 said yes, 8 out of 13 have said no, and 1 out of 13 says, how the heck do you do that? I can answer that later. That's kind of beyond the scope of this, but that's a good way to kind of force yourself to keep, especially as raises come. But that's something important to do if you're not already max contributing, in my opinion, because you don't want to just spend all your raise. You want to pay yourself first, investing in yourself. Okay, 3 is, have you increased your investment savings for 2024? Good, over half have. 5 out of 13 have not. Hopefully that changes as well. And I know for Viasat employees, we're just about to start the focals for raises. It'll probably come in, I think, June. So that's a good time. I had that in part of the homework, though, to start updating. So when those raises come in, if you're not already maxing that stuff out, up your contribution so that you don't waste all your raise and you start investing in your future more. Okay, do you have an IRA? 3 said they have a Roth IRA. 3 have a traditional. 6 have both, which is good. I think most people do need both ultimately. One, whether the income above income limits for Roth contributions and or just long term for rolling money from 401ks into IRAs, you'll need both of those accounts set up. But I'm a big fan of the Roth IRA over the traditional. The traditional is just a holding to backdoor Roth for me. And then one person said, no, what's an IRA? So anybody who wants to let me know if that's something that's important, because an IRA is an individual retirement account. Whether you have a 401k or TSP, employer sponsored plan, you can separately contribute to an individual retirement account, and everybody should have one, and have one as soon as possible. And I like the Roth IRA, and that there's a 5-year rule on getting tax-free earnings out of the Roth. So people need to open a Roth and just put $1 in, and that starts that 5-year clock. So, but those you open separately. I'm a big fan of Vanguard, Schwab, and Fidelity. They're the kind of low-cost brokers that have made investing easy and good for the middle class, where we're not buying fund advisors' yachts. We're buying our own. So if you have questions about that, I'm happy to talk more later after that. Let's see, do you max fund your IRA annually? Good. 8 out of 13 do. 4 out of 13 do not. So in my hierarchy of saving and investing, after you get your max match on the 401k or TSP, next, along with ESPP and health savings account, if that's available to you, along with those is max funding your Roth IRA or your IRA. Then once you have that max funded, then you go back if you have additional money and increase your 401k allotments until you can max that out as well, along with brokerage account and putting some money that's not, it doesn't have penalties if you pull it out before a certain age. And one person says, I don't know. So that's something you should check out. Go look at your account. You can see how much you've contributed over the year. For 2023, that's 6,500. If you have not done that yet, you have until, actually you need to get it done right away if you're not in San Diego, because that window closes Monday on tax day. For people in San Diego County, we got an extension on taxes, and so we can contribute to 2023 until June 17th. So that's a nice benefit. What do you, Nathan, what are you shaking your head for?
I'm in Temecula, so I'm right at the edge of San Diego County. So I'm out. I don't.
Well, you're not, so you don't get that either, right? Because that was just, I think, from the flooding.
I double checked everything. Nope.
Okay.
I was in last year with the weather. Riverside County was good, but not this year. So
okay, well, you have at least for 2024, you have until tax day, so start contributing.
Yeah, it was just the fact that like Temecula is right on the county line.
That's unfortunate. Okay, have you max funded for 20? Okay, I already said that. 7 out of 12 have, 5 out of 12 have not. Like I said, if you have extra money, do it. Contribute right before the window closes Monday, evening. But that's something that's really, if you just have money, the Roth, or if it's a Roth IRA, you can pull out the contributions you want. I don't want you to do that. That's meant for retirement, but that is available. So if you, like put some money, a couple thousand in,
I like
your emergency fund, that, you could pull it out if it's contributions, not a backdoor. But like I said, I just don't want you, unless you absolutely have to, I wouldn't want you to pull money from your Roth IRA. Okay, in your 401k, do you contribute traditional or Roth or a combination? Traditional, 4 out of 12. Roth, 2 out of 12. Combo, 5 out of 12. That's kind of what I expected. The traditional, after today, we'll see if that changes. I might, and I don't know, get off me. Let's see. That's something you should check, though. Just look at you go into your contributions, and it'll determine what percentage. You can determine what percentage is which. And the last one, do you have a brokerage account, taxable investment account? Good. 9 out of 12 do. 3 out of 12 do not. That's something. If you haven't opened up your IRA, or if you have an IRA opened up, open up a brokerage account there as well. And we'll go into that because that's part of the buckets. Let's see. Any questions on the poll? Nope. Okay, we'll get moving because we got a lot to go through. So this is a quick agenda. We'll just get moving. I'm not going to read it to you. You can all read better than I can. Okay, so what is traditional versus Roth? Anybody want to share? What are we talking about? Are we talking about accounts? Are we talking about contributions? What is it? And what's the difference?
the difference being when it is taxed is what I think about.
Yep. And are these a part of any accounts, or what kind of accounts?
Retirement accounts?
IRAs for retirement accounts.
Retirement accounts. And actually, if people have a 457, so people that are in nonprofits or working for the state or something, those can also have Roth and traditional, even though those aren't technically, that's not technically a retirement account. But it's a great benefit. It's more like a salary deferral because there's no penalty to use that money early. But they have Roth and traditional as well. So these are types of contribution for tax advantage retirement accounts. 401ks, TSP, 403bs, even 457s, as I said, and IRAs. The difference, so traditional, here's why the name traditional. So it was just, for the longest time since 401ks and IRAs started, there was just pre-tax. It was just, money went in pre-tax, it lowered your AGI, and that money grew tax deferred. When you pull that money out, that's income. You haven't paid a lick of taxes on it, so you pay income taxes on all that money you pull out. And then RMDs, which are required minimum distributions, they Secure 2.0 moved that up to, I'm just saying 75, because for anybody that's born 1960 or later, it's 1960, sorry, age 75. Age 73 for people 51, 59, but anyway, everybody I think in here will have RMDs at 75. And that's when the IRS is saying, sorry, we want our money. You got to start pulling out a certain portion, and they get their tax money. Roth, on the other hand, is after tax contributions, but it's tax-free growth. Like I said, there are 5-year rules on the Roths, and especially on earnings to have those tax-free. But you pay 0 tax on those distributions, and there are no required minimum distributions. There used to be on the 401k, but Secure 2.0 changed that as well to where there's no required minimum distributions on Roth 401k nor IRAs as well. Any questions here? Okay, so we're going to go through. So you guys, most of you have seen these. These are kind of investment vehicles that I made up for, for funding your retirement. That 401k, that's a dump truck. So does that have traditional and Roth or not? Yes. HSA, so that's a health savings account for high deductible plans. I consider that a great retirement account if you have the access to it. What does that have, Roth or traditional? It's really kind of a combination of both. The HSA is like the best tax treatment. It's like a quadruple tax advantage account. The money goes in tax free. It grows tax deferred, and then if it's used for medical, all those gains are tax free as well. So it's an incredible investing vehicle for people that have that ability. As for retired military, you can't use it, unfortunately, because we have TRICARE, so I guess that's we do have healthcare, but that was something I was hoping to take advantage of when I retired from the military. IRA, so. That one, yes, of course, that has Roth and traditional, and a brokerage account that doesn't. That's just after-tax money that goes into a brokerage account. It does have somewhat of a tax advantage because you only pay capital gains taxes, which is typically a lower percentage than you pay on income taxes, like traditional pre-tax 401ks and IRAs. How about Social Security? No, and why I put that no, because some people have a misunderstanding, like you're paying money into your own account for Social Security. That's not how it works. You pay in, it goes in, and that's paying the people that are on Social Security now. So it's not like you have your own Social Security bank account that's rolling up. It's all in the trust fund.
It operates exactly like a Ponzi scheme.
Okay, so yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody understood that. Okay, here, and these are the income limits on IRAs. For 401ks, there are no income limits for the Roth portion. You can be making $1 million a year and contribute all Roth. But there are income limits on IRAs. Specifically for Roth IRAs, these are the limits. It tapers off for single 146. At just below 146K, you can contribute the max, and then it just tapers off, linearly up until 161K. You cannot contribute directly to a Roth, or if you do, they can give you a 6% penalty every year that you don't put that back into a traditional IRA, and so you don't want to do that. But a lot of people just don't realize it, and then they have to re-characterize that money later. This is another. If you have an employer plan, you look at how low those income limits are for contributions that are tax deductible, even lower than the Roth. So that goes into, in my opinion, of doing a backdoor Roth if you if you can at all possible. And so anybody want to share what a backdoor Roth IRA conversion is? Explain that. Testing you guys to see if you're paying attention to me when I
I think I certainly don't know the answer, but it's something to do with you started in a traditional IRA because it's allowed, because you maxed the limits of a Roth, but then you convert it at a certain point, either at the end of the year or multiple times throughout the year, but then you convert it to a Roth.
Yeah.
Pay,
So-
And, okay. So
pay
this
your
will-
taxes on it and put it in.
Yeah, exactly. And okay, so and this is you only need to do this if you're above the income limits for a Roth. And you cannot directly contribute. If you can directly contribute to a Roth, then contribute to a Roth, because contributions and conversions are treated differently as far as money, when you can use that money. So there's a 5-year limit on the 5-year holding period on the conversions too. So it is exactly that. It's a non-deductible contribution to the traditional IRA. So it's after-tax money that goes in, and then you invest it. And I said earlier, because this was listening to Michael Kitces, who's like the biggest fat brain in financial planning, and he talked about this, like you could get in trouble with a step conversion. But I've recently talked with a bunch of financial advisors specifically about this, and I've changed my mind again, because it's allowed. Congress has allowed it. So I'm going back to my initial thing. And if it is like in January, if you can front load and put in your whole contribution, that way you just only have to backdoor once. But put the money in the traditional IRA. It takes a couple of days for that money to settle, and then immediately convert it all set, like this year 7,000, 8,000 if you're 50 or over, and then invest it. So you pay zero in tax because there's no gain since you just put it in cash. Then convert it to Roth, then invest it, and let that money grow tax-free forever. So it's awesome, but you can get in trouble if you have a lot of money in your any traditional IRA that is pre-tax. That's called the pro rata rule, which we'll quickly cover. This is important to know, and if people have rolled money into an IRA from like a 401k where there's a lot of pre-tax money. Now, how I'd like to explain this, it's like, so let's say you had a traditional IRA with $93,000 of pre-tax money, never paid taxes on it. And then you take, you're going to go do backdoor Roth this year. Yes, I put in my 7,000, and then I just want to convert that 7,000, right? I've already paid taxes on it, right? It's already after tax money. Well, it doesn't work that way. As soon as you put that money together, it's like cream in a coffee. It's all mixed together, and how the IRS sees it, you haven't paid taxes on 93% of that money. That because there's all that, you've got 100,000 now, and 93,000 of it is pre-tax. So you're going to pay taxes on 93% of 7,000. So if you have a lot of money in a traditional IRA that was, say, from a rollover, you probably can, like, your 401k plan will likely allow you to re-roll that pre-tax money into your 401k with that current company, and then you have no money, pre-tax money in your traditional IRA, and you're set up for doing backdoors in the future. Any questions? This is a confusing topic, so there has to be some questions on this.
Hey, I have a question. So what if you have money in a traditional TSB, like left there? Does that need to be converted before you could do the conversion?
Nope, because that's in your TSP. Keep it in your TSP though, or don't put it in, don't roll it into an IRA. That's the thing. It's money. If you have money, pre-tax money in a traditional IRA. So if you took that TSP money, rolled it into a traditional IRA, that now this is a situation you'd be in. Let's say you had 93,000 in TSP and you rolled it to a traditional IRA, then you'd be screwed, and you'd pay all the taxes when you try to do the backdoor. Make sense?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
If you
one
have,
more thing.
go ahead.
So I had a 401k account, and since that was closed and was transferred into IRA, so from that account, can I transfer into start a new Roth and
Wait, could you say that? Could you say that again, Chunky?
So I had an 401k account which was closed and was rolled into an IRA account. And
Uh-huh.
from that IRA account, if I open a Roth account, can I transfer money from that one without any
Without any tax? You can roll Roth 401k money to a Roth IRA, and there's no tax. So you've already paid the tax on that in the first place, and that's tax-free growth. If you take traditional pre-tax money from a 401k and roll that into a Roth IRA, that's a bad move, because you have to pay tax on all that money. That's all income, and it's uncontrolled, especially if it's a large sum. So if you have pre-tax money, ultimately we'll go into Roth conversions, but you would roll that into a traditional IRA, and then you could, especially if you're on sabbatical or something, you could do Roth conversions. So take portions of that money, but it should be very calculated, because you don't want to trigger too many taxes in 1 year. But you can start converting that traditional pre-tax money into Roth. Did that answer your question?
To add on to Junkie's question a bit, so
Yes.
what's the difference? Oh, sorry, go ahead. I think she said yes.
Okay,
But
yes, she did.
to add on a little,
Yep.
so what's the difference with what she just asked, like traditional to Roth versus the doing the backdoor? Doesn't the backdoor also involve a traditional to Roth move?
It does, but in general, when you're talking a backdoor Roth conversion, that's typically talking about just the current year's. It's kind of a phrase for your annual contributions to an IRA. So, like for this year, 7,000, 8,000 if you're with a $1,000 catch up if you're 50 and over. So that's what typically means for a backdoor. You contribute to your annual that you're allowed based on your income to traditional, and then you convert that to Roth. In general, converting any money from traditional to Roth is a Roth conversion. It's just like backdoors typically used for, you're talking about annual IRA contributions, not getting, taking your 401k or, that's pre-tax and moving that to Roth. Why I say that though, Mike, is you don't want to, if you have a ton of money in a 401k, you don't want to just throw that all in Roth, because that's a huge potential tax bill. You better know what you're doing, because you could really bite yourself with a large tax bill that year.
Sure, but hypothetically, if Junkie had
Yeah,
exactly 7,000 in her traditional from a rollover like 401k, that would be perfect. It would just be, here's my Roth for the year.
Well, no, don't do that, because if you rolled it, you could still contribute as well. You know what I mean? So don't do that. You still want to contribute your annual contributions to the IRA. Just because you rolled money, you haven't invested any additional money. So you still want to make your annual contributions to the traditional IRA and then backdoor it. And so, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And what I would do then in that case, if you haven't rolled it, contribute to the traditional IRA, backdoor it, then contribute the money that's pre-tax to the IRA and convert it. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter, but it's but you wouldn't pay you pay zero taxes on those contributions to the traditional IRA. Okay, another way, if you're close to the income limits, just above it, a lot of plans like ours you can do in-plan conversions of your pre-tax 401k. So you can take pre-tax, the traditional contributions, and convert a certain amount, and you'll get a 1099 to pay taxes on that money that you converted later. But that would lower your AGI potentially down below what the income limits are for a Roth IRA, and then you could contribute directly to a Roth IRA. Once again, a lot of words.
Yeah, Alan, got a question.
Yeah, Dustin.
So regarding the age limit, right? Let's say you turn 50 at the end of the year. Can you contribute any time? Okay.
It's the year that you turn 50, you can start contributing. The IRS doesn't know when your birthday is, and it doesn't matter because it's an annual contribution, right? So it's the year you turn 50, you're opened up for catch-up contributions for 401ks and IRAs. 401k is significant, $7,500. IRAs are $1,000, but they finally with Secure 2.0 are indexing those with inflation, so that'll start going up. HSAs, those catch-ups come at 55, by the way. Okay, any other questions there? Okay, keep moving on. Oops, still sharing it. Lost my cursor. Okay. Okay, like I said, if you haven't opened up an IRA, if you don't have it and you haven't max contributed, get it done. If you're outside of San Diego County, get it done this weekend. Make whatever contributions you can, because that window closes Monday night. San Diego, you got till June 17th. These are my the best low cost, I think, ones. Vanguard is the kind of the only employee one owned, but their tech kind of is like 1970s. That's the only downside, I'd say, of Vanguard. Schwab is probably the best known for their customer service, and they have offices all over the place. So if that's what you like, go over there. Fidelity has the best tech that you can do by fractional shares of everything. So don't do paralysis by analysis. Just open one and get it going if you haven't already. You can shift later, but they're all good. You'll win with all of them. Okay, so who likes a big refund on tax day? Anybody? You do? Okay, well, I'm gonna give you a little training there, Ginger. You really shouldn't get a big, you just gave the IRA a tax-free loan for the whole year. Use that money, invest it, and then have it working for you instead of giving the government a tax-free loan. That how you adjust that is your withholding, and also when you retire from the military, you'll have to go into your pension stuff and set up your withholding, and that's something you'll want to do because it won't withhold enough. It won't, and so you want to do that so you don't have too big of a tax bill. Ideally, you'd like to have your tax bill, plus or minus $1,000, within $1,000. That's in my opinion what is good tax management. Okay. Okay, so the three buckets. This is how you manage. This is how you get smart with taxes long term. So that's why I asked if people have a brokerage account as well. Three different things. There's the brokerage account, which is after tax money. Everybody that's at Viasat and has ESPP or RSUs, you already have a brokerage account at now Morgan Stanley. But typically, if you should open up a brokerage account wherever you have your IRA opened up as well. And that's, I think you should have a decent amount in your brokerage account, because that's money you can use anytime. While it might not be the most efficient, if you're going to retire early or something like that, it's good to have that, since you don't have to worry, about all this money that's kind of locked up in your 401ks and IRAs that are not typically allowed to be used penalty free until 59.5. But you do want, then there's Roth IRAs and 401ks. Those you pay no taxes on. It's tax-free growth. And then you get the traditional 401k IRA. Now I know some people that only do Roth, but you don't want to do that because you're paying too much taxes forever. Because they're even if you retired and had no income coming in, there's still the standard deduction, so if you pulled out, like this year, if you're single, $14,600, you would pay zero tax, because that's the deduction. So if you already paid taxes on that money and it's all in Roth, you've wasted money. So it's a balancing game. But the problem is, too many people have all their money in pre-tax because they only think about taxes this year. I don't want to pay taxes this year, and it's stupid, and they end up paying long-term lots more taxes. But this allows you to do things like, so if you're going to buy like an RV or a house or something like that, how would you want to use that money? Would you want to use traditional 401k, brokerage account, or Roth? What do you guys think?
Can you repeat the question?
Christian, if you were going to make a large purchase, like say binary RV or a house or some substantial, you know, where you need a large chunk of money immediately, would you pull that? How would you?
Oh, brokerage.
What's that?
I'll use my brokerage account. I won't pull from my Roth or traditional.
You could probably, it depends on all that you've got going on, but you might want to, the key is you don't want to use traditional only, because you have to pay all that money that comes out of the traditional, you have to pay its income and you have to pay taxes on it. And people don't think about that, and they can mess themselves up because they pull out this large chunk of money, they don't set aside money to pay those taxes, and then they make that large purchase, then comes tax day, and they're like, oh my gosh, I owe, you know, 150,000 in taxes. Now I have to pull more money out of my traditional, which then I have to pay taxes on. You know, it's just it could be a vicious cycle. So
you can also use it as a tax break. If you have something as a loss you're trying to get rid of, you can get out of that position.
Not on the traditional.
No, if you take it out of your brokerage account.
Yeah. Yep.
So that might actually help your tax bill if you take it from your brokerage account.
Yeah. And what you can do that if you have a loss, but typically, hopefully you don't have a bunch of losses, but I know some of us all do.
It's the market. You can't win.
Well, but you don't want to spend it when you're in a loss, if possible, like in general. But if you like, if it for us with the ESPP, that's money. We'll talk more about that. But when the ESPP vests this next time, sell that portion, that amount. Say you got $5,000 of it. Sell it from your old stuff that's at a loss. And then you can use 3,000 against your income, and then if you have more losses than that, you can hold over for future years. But then you can do capital gain harvesting at the same time, which is I think even better. If you have something where you've got a win, like you can sell the amount. Let's say you had 5,000 in losses you sold on the say Viasat stock, and then you have say Microsoft or some ETF, whatever, where you have a lot of gain. Sell something where you got $5,000 of gain, and then immediately rebuy that back. So you have a higher cost basis, but you have no tax burden because your losses have equaled out your gains. And yet you set up a higher cost basis for the stuff that's gained, and you won't. So when you want to use that money later, you won't pay as much capital gain tax. Once again, lots of words. Hopefully that makes sense. So this is what too often is the case, and especially because Roth is relatively new. It started in 1998 with the Roth IRA, and then a lot of 401k plans it didn't start them until I think even the military is like 2013, when TSP finally opened up to Roth. But so too many people have this, and that's all they've got, and you can be in a real big tax issue when it comes to RMD age, and you have to start pulling this money out, and you have no control of your taxes for the rest of your life, and you're going to be paying too much. And we'll get into that. Okay, taxes we cannot really defer, and except for the HSA, it does. If it comes out of the workplace, you avoid FICA taxes as well, which is great. But these are Social Security. It applies to, there's a limit up to 168.8K this year. And then Medicare goes up, it's a 1.45% for all. There's no income cap there. For California, they just removed their income cap. So previously up until this year, there's a cap, but what a surprise. California raising taxes again. Oh my gosh. But those are some taxes you can't really avoid. Okay, and then we'll quickly go over some income terms that way people understand as we start rolling through the actual numbers. Gross income, all your income sources, and then minus your exclusions, you know, that are from income. Your CPA could go into more details about that. AGI, which is an important number, is adjusted gross income, and that's your gross income minus, you know, these adjustments, which will, if you look at your tax forms, it's a line 11, so you can see that. Taxable income, which is what really, you know, obviously matters because that's what you're paying on, is going to be your AGI minus your standard or itemized deductions. Since the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, there used to be about 33% of people that itemized. Now it's less than, it's 10% at most. because they increased that standard deduction so much, and they cut the SALT, this state and local tax amount that we can use down to 10,000. So that really crushed California and places like New York that have really high taxes. But and then Maggie, the modified adjusted gross income, for most people early, this doesn't matter because it adds back in tax exempt interest like municipal bonds and some tax deductions. But for most people, AGI is the same as Maggie. But down the road, as people like say are pretty high income on their bonds, they might want to consider municipal bonds because there's a tax. There's a tax advantage to it, even though the yield might not be as high. The actual ultimate yield may be higher because you're not paying the tax burden. Okay, but Maggie goes into IRA contribution, income limits, etc. Okay, effective tax rate. So really, effective tax rate is just how much taxes you pay divided by your taxable income. That's how it's defined. But you need to add in obviously your state taxes as well to get your real understanding of what your effective tax rate is. And that's because we are in a progressive tax rate. So 10, 12, 22, 24. So your effective is okay. As you move up, it's just every dollar over the 10% amount that gets then taxed at 12%. So it's always lower. You're paying a lower. Some people say, I don't want to get a raise. I'm just going to pay more taxes in a higher tax bracket. That's insane. You're still making more money. And only the portion that goes into that new tax bracket is taxed at that higher tax rate, but you're still making more money. Okay. Historically, we are still at very low tax rates, tax brackets. So you can see how crazy they were at certain times. But people are always concerned about this year, but and with our debt and everything else, who knows where taxes are going to go. But you can see it's just really low. Here's just a timeline. I want to show you kind of like a couple thoughts of where, say you worked, the first ones you work for 30 years, and we're assuming starting at 25. Work for 30 years, retire at 30, and just some different options that are available to you. I have at the top about Social Security. You can start taking that at 62. Bad idea for most because you take a 30% lifetime haircut on that amount of money rather than waiting till your full retirement age at 67, which is what we're currently at. If you wait till 70, which this is kind of a longevity play, you get a 24% increase. And that's every month. So every month you can wait to take Social Security, there's additional benefit to it if you're fortunate enough to be in a position to do that. But this just shows various different things and when you can do like the gap years. So when you stop working and your income is dropped and so you're in a low tax bracket, that's the time to start doing those Roth conversions, Junkie and Mike, we were talking about earlier. That's when you start rolling, moving a lot of money from traditional to Roth, but not paying the high tax burden that you would while you're still working. Okay. So here's the assumptions I went as we roll through this. And we don't know, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is due to sunset December 31st, 2025, but we don't know if that's going to happen. But if it does, and it goes back to the old rates, and in my assumption, they also say the standard deduction will go back. There's several other things that could really significantly impact us, but these are the assumptions I made. I'm only counting for 401k and HSA contributions, no other things, and everybody's just doing the standard deduction just to keep it simple. But you'll see I'll be comparing, and I highlight the different lines just that I think you want to see things. You might want to snapshot these real quick, these next couple of slides, because you have the tax rates. Just then as we're going through them, you can be looking. But this shows our current federal tax rates for 2024, the standard deduction, and then the state and local tax deduction, which, as I mentioned, it's limited to 10,000. Which, if you're in California, that's nothing. it's really frustrating. That's why Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was kind of might have been a tax increase for us in high income tax states. Okay. Let's see, current, this is, if you want to take a snapshot of this too, this shows, you see, this is what the tax rates were pre, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and what's due to potentially come back January 1st, 2026. So it goes up, instead of 12% becomes 15, 22 becomes 25, 24 becomes 28, etc. So we'll see what happens. Okay, now here's California tax rates too. We've got like the highest as well, lucky us. And the standard deduction, they don't have it yet for 2024. So I just put down what they haven't published it. They just have what's 2023. Okay. And then capital gains. So this, if you don't have income, you can, it's great. That's when, like if you're on sabbatical or you're retiring, you don't have much income in, that's where that whole capital gains harvesting, selling and rebuying and not paying any tax is awesome. But these are the different rates. And then if you're single and make over 200K on different investments and things like that, you're going to pay an additional surtax of 3.8%. That went in, President Obama put that in place in like around 2010. That helps out with Medicare. But hopefully people understand, what capital gains are. Long term, you need to hold it for longer than a year, basically a year and a day. But if you do that, say you bought a stock for 10 bucks, later, year and a day later, sell it for 15, you've made a $5 capital gain. So you'll pay capital gains taxes on that. Any questions there? Nope. Okay. Now we'll start rolling through. I've got different assumed income rates. I'll start with single, assuming single under 50. And I highlight kind of a line that you want to see. These first two columns, these are our current tax rates, and then these are assuming we go back to those, pre Tax Cut and Jobs Act, what you would be paying starting January 2026. Like I said, we don't know what's going to happen, but these are just things that you can look at and what the effective tax rates are. So in all of these, it's going to be the same things: gross income, 401k contributions. This one I just assume 10%. Next one I'll assume max. And then we'll go through single and married for all of these, but you can see the difference in, and I'll go through state taxes for California as well. Okay, here's the same thing here's the California taxes that same person would pay. And then the bottom line is that total effective tax rate, federal and state. And what's that 55%? Sorry, that's wrong. Don't look at that bumper. I'll get rid of that. I thought I deleted that. But you can see it's actually a noticeable difference, like 20%, 19.9 versus 16%, the tax rates. And this is assuming, like I said, they would go back to the lower standard deduction, which I don't think they go that low, but that's all we can work on right now. Okay, here's this would be if you were max contributing. And the first column, as I mentioned, that's traditional 401k, so that lowers your AGI. The Roth 401k, that does not lower your AGI. So you pay, more tax, and you're in the 22% tax bracket for a little over 10,000 of that. But in considering the time frame we're in, that's probably not, the tax rates we're in, it's probably not really bad for a lot of people. And then here's the same California taxes, and then the overall tax rates. And so this is where this bumper is correct. It's an effective 16 and 20% lower tax rate now than if we went to those, return to those Tax Cut and Jobs Act, pre-Tax Cut and Jobs Act tax rates. So that's like 16.7 minus 14.4 over 14.4. That's where those numbers come in. That's how much additional tax you're paying. But you can see just even on the numbers, you're paying it 37.58 versus 56.45. I mean, it's a decent. It's a noticeable amount. Okay, now we'll go up. Now if somebody's making more money, they're double that 125K. This is what you'd be paying in tax. And see there, you're 24% tax rate for approximately 5724. That's only a 2% difference, 22 to 24%. So, and that 24% tax bracket is huge. So that's, we'll get into that later, but here's that. Then there's the California taxes you pay, and then the total effective tax rate, and your statement that you have versus the post Tax Cut and Jobs Act. Okay, here's the same thing. So assuming a married couple, each one of them makes 125, or overall they make 250K, and you can see that it's basically the same. But once again, once you hit 250K, now above that you get that additional surtaxes on net invested income. And then here's your California tax, and I didn't highlight it, unfortunately. But it's you see on the bottom there, the bottom row, the difference in tax rates the same as a single. Okay, this one I purposely added in to kind of like, this is where you might want to think about if you're in this sort of situation. Okay, let's assume you're single, you make 225K. So if you did all traditional contributions, you'd still be in the 24% tax bracket. But if you did all Roth, you'd be in the 32% tax bracket for $14,299. That's a significant jump in tax rates. 24, that's 8% more. So that's where you might want to maximize, hey, understanding that, why don't I put some, for that 14,000 in traditional instead, pay that, and then I remain in the 24% tax bracket, and then down the road do Roth conversions after, in the gap years. Does that make sense? I know that's hopefully that, but that's where, 22 to 24, to me, that's insignificant, but 24 to 32, okay, if you can avoid that, why not? Okay, and then this is once again just the change, the California taxes and the total effective tax rates, because you see these effective tax rates keep going up as people make more income. Here's now the same case for a married couple. They're making 450K. Once again, you're at, you're in that 32% tax bracket. Do some traditional and Roth, and you can remain in the 24% while still maximizing getting money into your Roth bucket. Okay, and then once again, just the added state. Okay, now I went to one more. Once you're at 250K, you're going to be, unless you're going to be in the 32%. So unless you have other deductions, but that's what you'll pay, and that's your effective tax rate. Okay. And then this is the same thing for married. So you've got a $500,000 coming in, how much you'll be paying in tax. And your effective rates, same thing. Okay. So catch-up contributions. So once like I said, Dustin, I'm glad you brought that up. But the year you turn 50, you can make catch-up contributions. 7,500 to a 401k, 1,000 to an IRA. How I thought of this before. Say you're 49 and you were already max contributing to your IRA and your 401k, but you're then contributing additional 7,500 to a brokerage account. Well, you're going to pay taxes on the gains on that. Since you've already been used to paying those taxes, why not just do that catch-up contributions in Roth? You're already used to paying it. So, but then you'd have that additional tax-free growth anyway. And it's just a thought. It might not be the most efficient, but I don't think it's always about most efficiency. What works best, really. Secure 2.0 though, for highly compensated people, which I believe they're saying is 150,000. They were going to do it in 2024, but they pushed it out to 2026. Those catch-up contributions will be required to be in Roth by pre-tax. Okay, any questions? Nope. Okay, and Okay, so I wish I'd seen this. I wish I knew more about Roth when I was the early, and there was more Roth. So here's how much the tax advantage is for military. It's crazy, especially if you live in a high cost of living place like California, where you DC as well, where your BAH is super high. That's all tax-free money. I'm not accounting for any of the bonuses, all that stuff, but it does always crack me up that basic allowance for subsistence, that's money we get for food, that enlisted make so much more than officers. Enlisted always say, well, I work for a living. But it always makes me laugh that it's a noticeable difference. But anyway, we'll go through. So here's different, how much people actually make in the military. This is assuming San Diego housing. So with BAH, an 03, whoops, did I go? I skipped it. Okay, you see that for the 02. 02 is the officer second rank. So that's a first lieutenant or lieutenant junior grade in the Navy, the officer second rank. 03, so that's at 4 years. So that's a captain in most services, lieutenant, full lieutenant in the Navy. And you make that at 4 years automatically, unless you were stupid and got a DUI or something. But you see how much the tax-free money is, like all that BAS and BAH is all tax-free. And then 04, so that's a major or a lieutenant commander in the Navy at 14 years. So pretty, 6 years from when they can retire, they're making a pretty good penny without not even counting anything else. And so much of that is tax-free. So let's compare a civilian making the same amount of money gross versus what somebody in the military is making. You look at their gross income. I put the gross incomes all the same, but when it comes down to AGI, and I'm assuming this is like they're making no contributions to the 401k. They're and which would be silly, but I'm just doing it for dramatic effect of seeing how much lower their AGI is because you have all that tax-free money of housing and subsistence. AGI is only 50, not even 55,000 versus even if you did all traditional contributions the civilian did, they'd still have $20,000 more of AGI. So use Roth military. I mean, you were never going to be in that low of a tax bracket again, unless you just stop working, period. Okay, so let's go now in 03, same thing. The 03, they're at about 60,000 AGI versus 110 or 86,000. And they're still at 13% effective tax rate. And I put this as California. So if you're in California, I should explain that. If you're in California and you change your residency somewhere else, you won't pay state taxes while you're active duty in the military. So it's great. So that was my assumption. If you are a California resident and you're stationed in California, you will pay taxes. So what I did when I was in the military, because I went in as a California resident, then I switched my residency to another state because I expected to eventually get back to California, and I did. But when I was active duty in the military in California, I was then a Washington state resident and never paid state taxes for that time. So when you're in the military, do that, shift to your home of record to a different, tax-free, no income tax state like Florida. So most people do, Texas, whatever. Okay, and then the 04, still look at that difference in AGI and the effective tax rates. It's more the more people need to know this in the military, so they definitely Roth up as much as they can while they're in this crazy low rate. Okay, here's some quick assumptions about how much you'll make in. Oh, we're running over. Sorry. How much you'll make in your retirement will be worth. I just said assume single. You contribute 23K for 30 years, 24 payments, and then an 8% rate of return for those 30 years. Then that's where it grows to 2.7 million. And then so you get more conservative when you retire, so you grows at 4% for another 10 years until RMDs is 75. You have a balance of 4.25 million. the amount of your RMD is the account balance at the end of the year divided by your life expectancy for the age, which those actuary tables haven't changed. And we'll just go through some numbers here. This is why it's important to understand the tax management. So in this example, you would have nearly 173K of income if you had that much in traditional pre-tax money. That's not controlling your tax rate, and it's only going to go up each year because you're going to take a larger fraction, a larger number. You see, each year you get older, that it's a larger percentage. So here's the example says how much taxes you would pay, and I'm assuming, say it's in this case, I just said, let's say it sunsets, and you're back to those, older tax rates. But I did assume in this case we keep the same standard deduction, which might not be true. But you're going to be paying a ton of taxes, more than you probably should, and you're going to pay additional taxes, the additional Medicare tax, because you weren't paying attention to your income. So you're in this you're going to pay this. That's a monthly premium per person. So that's an additional over $5,000 in tax. Let's see. Here's another consideration. I don't mean to be dark at all, but spouses do pass away, and suddenly, after that first year, somebody's going to be in a single bracket, and if you had all this money, now you're at suddenly a much higher tax bracket, and suddenly you had to do RMDs for all that. You're at 345K. That was assuming they both did the same thing. Both contributed to 23,000 for 30 years. Now you're at the 33% tax bracket, and so you're paying over 100K in taxes each year, and then this goes back to what I was saying. If you made a large purchase and didn't think about it with pre-tax money, you could, say you paid off $300,000 on your mortgage, you want to pay it off, and you use all pre-tax money. That's your tax bill at a minimum, just for that. So don't be stupid. Okay, how to take advantage of the gap years. Roth conversions, and that's what we've been talking about. Push out Social Security until 70, so that you have left income if you can afford that. And then capital gains harvesting, which we kind of touched on, but we'll go in a little more detail. Roth conversion. Here's how to do that. You basically, roll over your 401k to a traditional IRA, like I said, not a Roth. That way you control it. Then convert traditional to Roth, and you convert that to a portion based on the tax bracket, how much you want to convert each year. Wait 5 years, because that conversion needs to wait 5 years to be tax-free. But by the way, when you take money out of a Roth IRA, it comes out contributions first, conversions second, earnings last. So it hooks you up already the right way. Here's an example of Roth conversions. Now they bumped up to RMDs to 75. You could do, say you retired at 60, you could do 15 years of conversion. And let's say just going up to the top of the 12 or the 15, whichever is the case. But you could, because of, like I said, the standard deduction, I'm assuming that 14.6, you could convert the top of the tax bracket plus the standard conversion and still be in that 12% tax bracket. And so in 15 years, you could convert over $600,000. And then even in the years when you've got the Social Security starting, it'll be a little bit less you can convert. But look at that. In 15 years, you've converted $750,000 to Roth, tax-free growth forever. Capital gains harvesting. This, I'll let people take a look. But what you could do, and this is, once again, you could do this when you're on sabbatical, just not making a good, if you didn't have any income, or when you retire. And if this is a sweeping assumption because most people have some kind of income. But it's for illustration. Say you had stock at $10 a share, you bought, it's up to 100. You could sell up to the top of that tax bracket and still be in the zero capital gains rate because that standard deduction comes into play. So you could sell, you know, almost 700 shares and not pay a cent in tax. Pretty nice. Okay. This is just a reminder how expensive it is in California. And here's just the age-related rules. As we talked about before, the year you turn 55, if you you retire from their company, you leave that company, that money you can use in that 401k penalty free. And you could roll money from a previous 401k into that money, and then it's all part of that money, and that's all penalty free money you can use from 55 onward. You know, you retire 55, 56, 57, whatever. Okay. And like I said, this is, you know, you want, I'm not saying you need a third, and a third, but you want a decent pool in each for maximum lifetime, you know, tax flexibility. Okay, here's your homework. If you're in California, I don't know if you guys heard,